You are listening to the Cocoa Blend Podcast. Our podcast aims to shatter the misconception that Black parents cannot co-parent without drama. A podcast for moms of faith who are tired of unnecessary conflicts, seeking a positive shift, and eager to embrace harmonious co-parenting in their blended family. In other words, moms who just want to co-parent without the drama. I am your host, Jamie Newton-Knight, motherhood mastery mentor and co-parenting coach. Join us as we navigate through insightful conversations and empowering stories, redefining the norms and celebrating the strength of united co-parenting in the Black community. So turn on that GPS and let's navigate the blend. Welcome back. If you are a returning listener, welcome back. If this is your first time here, welcome. We love to have you. But listen, if this is your first time here, I'm going to stop you right here. We are on a road trip, and this is the final stop on the road trip. So you can't get to this place without starting from the beginning. So you're going to have to go back a couple episodes, listen to what the roadmap even is. Like, what is this blend roadmap that you're talking about? Go back, listen to what the blend roadmap is, so that when you get to here, to this space, our final stop, you understand what we're talking about, okay? You're not like, ooh, how did they get from A to Z so fast? It's a road trip. We made a couple stops along the way, so you're going to have to go back, listen up, and then come catch up with us, all right? So again, welcome. My name is Jamie Newton-Knight. I am your host and the founder of Blended Black Family. The last stop on the blend roadmap is the D in blend, and that is don't rush the process. I kind of feel like the last stop, the final stop, is the most important stop, because even though along the way there were stops and there were tips, and each of those were very important, not rushing the process is extremely important. There are many times when people want their situations to look and or feel like somebody else's. Like, oh man, they got a perfect situation. They get along so well. They can do things together. They go out to eat. They have parties. They celebrate Christmas together. I wish my family could look like that. And so because of that, they're trying to rush the process. They're like, ooh, let's try to hurry up and get to this space. However, there's no two situations that are the same. There's no two families that are the same. We don't all handle things the same way, and our processes aren't going to be the same. So we need to make sure that we're not rushing the process. And this space of not rushing the process, this is where we take some time to reflect, and we accept that our situation is literally that, our situation. Our process is literally that, our process. Your child's health, your child's self-esteem, your child's overall well-being are at stake. So it's important not to rush the process, and how they see and interact in the world are all an extension of your relationship with them and the people who are in their lives. So don't rush it just because you think that you should be much further along in your blended journey than you are. Don't rush it if you see someone else's situation and you feel like yours should look the same way, or we should be further along than we are. Don't rush the process. Believe me, it takes time to get to the space of being able to co-parent in an easier way. Again, not perfection, just easier. So just take that time that you need to figure it all out. If communication takes much longer than setting boundaries, take that time to do all the things you need to do to communicate well and communicate effectively. If the healing process is what has taken the most time, take that time to heal, so that your family can be all that it needs to be. Don't rush the process. Just don't rush that process. Yeah, that's the tip. So I hope you enjoyed all these stops on the roadmap, okay? Because they are definitely going to be helpful. If you take them and you utilize them, they will be so helpful. Now, what else I want you to do is Another thing that I want you to do is you can go to the show notes and download your own copy of the Blend Roadmap. And if you have listened to this podcast and you're like, oh my goodness, I would really love to work with Jamie. Again, I will leave my information in the show notes so that you can schedule your motherhood mastery call with me. And we can just talk about all the struggles and how we're going to navigate you through your co-parenting struggles. Listen, the roadmap is pretty much going to be the same, but everybody's situation is a little bit different. So we're going to create a strategy that works for you and your family. So I'm looking forward to connecting. I thank you so much for tuning in. God bless. Are you ready to retreat? Then get those passports ready. If you're a mom who's just completely overwhelmed from wearing all the hats, doing all the things, and being everything to everyone, then this is the retreat for you. Now's the time to release the supermom syndrome and practice some guiltless self-care. Join us Mother's Day weekend, May 10th through the 13th, for the Motherhood Mastery Rest Retreat. Go to thecocoblend.com/momsretreat for more details. Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Cocoa Blend Podcast. I am here with my amazing and special guest, Miss Tiffany Stevens. Tiffany, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us about your family.
Okay, hey, I'm Tiffany Stevens, wife and mother, also a bonus mom. So I have two bonus daughters, 34 and 32 now. And then I have my two biological children. Antoine is 24 and Asher is 22. And my husband, Antoine, I've been married, it'll be 25 years, February 14th for me.
Wow.
Yep.
25 years. Yes.
25
Black love.
years.
Black
yes.
love. But also
A lot
just
of
trying
history.
to survive that, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a journey. I tell people like, hey, buckle up because it's a ride.
I know that's right.
First of all, get everything you saw on TV out of your head.
Amen.
Because that's not the real. The real
Amen.
is what you're going to go through in your relationship with your spouse. And that's what matters. Don't worry about everything else. So
that's right. And how y'all fight the battle together. Whatever battles come.
Yep.
As long as you're fighting it together.
That's right.
Woo.
Together.
That's right. So you described your family unit as being blended and that you guys are getting along and you get along well. Talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so with the 25 years now, our family is blended and our family gets along now. It wasn't always like this in the beginning. So I just think with time and how things have evolved, kids have grown up, people have changed. It has put us in a good place, which is really a miracle, because if you had to ask me probably at the beginning, maybe the first 5 years in, I probably would have said, no, this is never going to work. Like, it was a battle, but like I said, it was a miracle, and I believe God really worked it out in our favor, where it's not a lot of strife and animosity, thank God, like it used to be.
Amen to that.
And I can also say your organization and being a part of your program helped me to see a lot of things. I wish I had something like this earlier, because I think by the time we kind of got connected, my kids were teenagers and then my stepdaughters were like well in their 20s, but we were still having a lot of conflict. But yeah, I think what you do is helpful, because it's something that's not talked about, and it needs to be talked about more. The expectations of coming in as a step parent and blending your family, and what does that look like? Because if you've never done it, or you just don't know.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. Whose responsibility is what, and what can I expect, and what should I be doing? And just like you said, I wish that there was somebody or something out there before I had to experience all the stuff that could have been like, don't go down that road. Do it like this. It'll be much easier for you. That would have been so helpful.
Yeah, it would have been. But you're here now, so
I am. I'm
you'll be
here now.
helping more people, that won't have to suffer in silence along the way, So that's awesome.
Yes, thank you so much. So you also said that during the process of your co-parenting and your blended journey that you struggled with what the most, and then what you were able to get through it by doing what?
I struggled with making that transition to actually be a stepmom. And that was in the very beginning. And I think it was because when I met my husband, I did not have children. So I
Right,
was a single mother meeting a guy with children. And I don't know how common that is, but I know I hadn't seen it a lot. I'd seen more men, you know, getting with women that had kids.
right,
So the blueprint on how that was supposed to look, I did not know. And then on top of that, I didn't really have a big motherly instinct because I didn't have kids. And
right,
I don't know how common that is, but I didn't really think about that because it wasn't something I was experiencing. So, me transitioning into the stepmother role was really difficult at first. And then, kind of right after we got married, I had my son. So, because there was a lot of drama going on, I maybe pulled back and focused on my son, and then I had my daughter. So I put like the majority of the focus I could on them because I knew my husband's, not his loyalty, but he was divided.
hmm,
He still had a responsibility to those girls, but he also had a responsibility toward us. And I just did not want my kids to lack in any way because of what was going on.
right,
If it was extra attention, extra things they needed, finances, whatever, I just always felt like I got to pick up the slack because if my husband has to end up doing something over here, then we just still have to make sure that they're okay.
right,
And that's where the focus went. So I think some of that might have been seen as maybe like neglect, like I didn't care about the step kids. But it was just, I think at that point, I was more on survival because there was so much turmoil going on with those situations where I just felt like I just need to protect the kids here, you
right.
know?
Yeah.
And yeah,
That's a very interesting story. Just like you said, it's often that you meet most of the time men will meet women who already have children and then they have to figure out the blend, right?
hmm,
Whereas you're like, I'm this single woman with no children and I meet this guy, he's already got two kids, and now we're about to blend our families, but how do I be a mom to these kids? Just like you
right.
said, you weren't prepared for that, I guess, because of the fact that you didn't already have your own children. Some people step into the role because they have like younger siblings and so they know what that's like. But
Hmm.
some people are like, I was not ready to be a mama yet.
Right. And with me, I had limited interactions with children. Like my sister is 2 years younger than me, my brother is 7 years younger than me, but we were still. It wasn't like I was around younger kids or I had cousins that were younger, and so it's just something that really never did cross my mind too much.
Right.
You
Or
know,
people that you had to be responsible for taking care of.
yeah, yeah. I didn't have that. I didn't have that. But what was funny too is that I kept thinking, well, my main focus when I got with my husband was, are you still talking to these women? Do you still have relationships with them, like sexual relationships, intimate relationships? Are you still involved? And that's what mattered the most to me because I felt like, well, as long as he doesn't have a relationship with them, I think we'll be good. But
Right.
didn't realize that the kids were a part of the package, and that's lifelong.
That's right.
That's lifelong, and that was not registering to me at first. So, like
Right.
I said, me trying to walk into the role of stepmother was initially difficult because a lot of it was my mindset and the way I was thinking about things too, you
Right.
know. um, just not having enough information to really understand how to do things, And like I said, at 2024, when I got married, my biggest thing was, oh yeah, he's not talking to them. He doesn't have relationships with them, so I don't have to worry. There's not going to be any drama because
Right.
they don't have relationships. But
Right.
I did not realize that there was so much more that comes with
Yeah, you
this.
were like, "Oh, I was not prepared for that
Yeah,
ride."
I was not prepared for everything that came with it, but
Not at all. Oh my
mhm.
goodness. Yeah, the journey is a journey,
Yeah.
and it's got a lot of bumps in the road and a lot of detours, and it can be a lot. It can be a
Mhm.
lot. Um, so tell us on that note, I'm gonna let you share a bit of your story with the guest, and I'm gonna be
Okay.
quiet. I'm gonna try not to do my amens in the background and my mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I'm the kind of person that I don't like to tell long stories because sometimes I don't like to listen to long stories. You know how sometimes people get to talking and they just get to talking, and it's like, okay, when are we gonna cut this off? So I like to try to condense mine so I'm not talking too long. So basically, I met my husband in 1998, and like I said, we'll be married 25 years. I didn't have any children. Was aware that he had two daughters, but like I said, I kept thinking, well, how old are they? Like, they're not newborns, they're not 1 years old. I just kept thinking the older they were, the further it was not going to be a problem because they were 7 and 5. And also the fact that he did not have any relationships with their mothers because it's two mothers. So I felt like, okay, I'm good, I can proceed, but did not realize everything that was going to come with that. So shortly after we got married, I had my son. And then 2 years after that, I had my daughter. And like I said earlier, there was so much drama going on behind the scenes that it wore me out, because I didn't really know where I fit into the situation. So just to give like a little small thing that happened that I was not expecting, child support was always a big thing, getting it adjusted and raised and going to the court and filing motions for visitation and all that stuff. I wasn't really aware of a lot of that. And I don't think my husband was really aware of that too. Kind of from my experience, what I see, and I'm not against friend of the court at all, but I kind of think friend of the court leans toward the mothers a little bit more than the fathers. It's almost like the fathers would really have to be persistent and consistent to really get things to move on their behalf. And all the time, my husband wasn't always that person. So just to give an example of something that happened, my husband went to truck driving school when I was pregnant with my daughter, and he was gone for a month to Arkansas. So during that time, he left his job and he was not paying child support. So my first stepdaughter's mother ended up calling friend of the court. When my husband got back, they arrested him for non-payment. And when I tell people this story, they say they actually came to your house. Like, yeah, they actually came to my house and knocked on my door and arrested him. And I was 2 weeks before my delivery. Yes. And he got 90 days for that. So I had my baby by myself. He was not there, you know? And that's something that I would have never thought that was happening because it's like I was checking all the boxes like, okay, I got married, I did this, I did that, I'm having a baby. I didn't want to be a single mother, but it was like in that moment I was because I had that baby by myself. And that was something I did not want to do. So that's an example of how things happened throughout our marriage, different little things that put kinks in what was going on. It took me a long time to get over that. And my daughter is 22, and I don't really know if I've gotten over it because I feel like I want to tear up right now thinking about that whole ordeal. But these are the little things that go on, like the conflict behind the scenes with parents when things are not blended, when people can't have conversations, when people see, oh, you remarried, oh, she's pregnant, oh, where's the money, let me go down here and make some noise at friend of the court. And then things shake, and then it's like, wow, so now this is disrupting the entire household for one reason, you know? And that's been the process the whole time with that situation. My second stepdaughter's mother, she's always been good. Me and her can talk right now. Like, I can call her and we could talk on the phone, and pray with each other. Like, she's always been like in my corner. Even when that happened with my husband went and got 90 days, she came to court with me, to try to speak on anybody's behalf.
Oh, that's
Friend of the
beautiful.
court but friend of the court didn't want to hear me, and they didn't want to hear her because they said, well, it doesn't have anything to do with you. So sad, so sad that he has another family, but we're not worried about that. We're worried about this situation right here. And basically it was like, we don't care if you're about to deliver. Bye. It was really like that. So I didn't get any help from them, So that just
That
kind of
is sad.
just showed me that it's a yeah, it's kind of leaned toward the mothers a little bit.
Yeah,
But
that's sad that they kind of dismissed the fact that, number one, the fact that you were pregnant at that time. Like, I understand, okay, we want our child support, got it. But this, just seeing what the circumstances are and like hearing people out, like it's not that he wasn't trying to pay or he was trying to dodge.
yeah, he could have went, looking back now, maybe he could have went to the court and explained to them that I have this opportunity to go to truck driving school. It's in another state, so I won't be able to work. So I don't know how they could have did, maybe postpone payments or something until I get back. But he didn't, like I said, don't always know how to really interact, So that wasn't done. So this was the outcome of that situation. And my whole thing was, if he's in jail for 90 days, nobody's getting money. She's not getting any child support. I'm definitely not getting any help in my household. I'm pregnant, so which means I was going to be off work for at least 6 weeks with no income. And now my husband's locked up. It was a hard time. It
Right.
was a
So
hard
now how's
time.
that solving the problem when you grab him and put him in jail for
Right.
90 days?
Right. It doesn't, I know they want some type of repercussions or punishment, but it shouldn't be a cookie cutter for everybody. Like,
Right.
it should be adjusted depending on the different cases,
I agree.
and I don't feel like they did that with him, you
Right.
know. So the financial piece had always been an issue, just because I knew that he wasn't going to always be able to 100% contribute to our household because he had other obligations. So that just always made me work even more harder, especially when I saw a friend of the court didn't care. It's like, they don't care about me and my kids, they care about these kids. And now that I'm talking through it, I think that might have made me have a little bit of animosity. And it wasn't the girl's fault, you know.
Right.
It was just a process of how everything was happening. But
Hmm.
it did make me feel some kind of way, like, well, you saying my kids aren't important?
Right.
Like a man can't start over, women start over all the time. Like,
Right.
she has 3 other kids now. She has my stepdaughter and 3 other kids and remarried. So it's like, men don't get to do that, but women
Right.
do. So it's just been a journey. But as just to make a long story even shorter, just through the years, as I say, with time, um, I can't say that one particular thing happened that made things better. I always just say time and patience, because at some time I had to just take my hands off and let things just play out, you know.
Yeah, you and I
And
talked about that a lot.
yeah,
It was like, I said with with them being older, it's like you just gonna have to take your hands off of it. Y'all
right.
just gonna have to wait it out because they've already experienced who you are. So they
Mm-hmm.
know you're coming from a genuine place and you're not like trying to be mean or malicious.
Mm-hmm.
After some time you'll see that they start to come around. And we both were like, with all the stuff that was happening, we were unsure of whether they actually would or not. But
Right.
I'm happy when you say like we're actually happy now. We actually get along.
We do. And I can say that it's just so much better to know that you're looked at in a positive light, because for so long I thought I was the evil stepmother trope. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't want that label, you know, but I still stand on the fact that with so much going on at the time, Antoine and Asher had to be my priority. I couldn't be an advocate on both sides. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And maybe that was something that I didn't really understand how to do. No, I know I didn't understand how to do it. So it was just easier for me to just focus on my kids and take my hands off. And it just so happened that it did work out. That's why I say it's a miracle, because I know how bad things were. And I got stories on top of stories. We don't have time. But it had gotten bad, but just to be on the other side of that now. And I think now that they're older, like I said, 34 and 32, like y'all good and grown women now. You
Hmm.
know, if you can't see me in my womanhood at this point, I guess we ain't never gonna see each other, because we women. You
Right.
34, you 32, we are women.
Hmm.
And I had apologized to them too. I said, I'm sorry about how things happened in the past. I was doing the best I could, and all I can do is go forward and try to establish a relationship now. And I
I
think we
love
had that
that.
conversation about 5 years ago. And it's taken some time. So it's like now I get birthday calls, where before I didn't get acknowledged. You know, I might not get a Mother's Day gift or a Mother's Day breakfast yet. I know one day somebody's gonna pick me up and say, "Let's go to breakfast on Mother's Day." But
Right.
I got a call. You know,
Right.
I might have got a post on Facebook. That's a victory. That's more than what I
Amen.
was getting. You know what I'm
Amen.
saying? So it means that the acknowledgement is there, and that I'm looked on in a favorable light.
Yes.
So that makes me feel better. Are we extremely close? No, but I think it's just because of distance too, where everybody lives. So we don't really get to see each other a whole lot. But I do feel like the respect is there. And that's something that wasn't there initially.
Yeah, that's beautiful, especially to hear it because, just like you said, as time goes by, you get to see from where you guys started. And then it's like, even though this is where we were just a couple years ago, look at the amazing strides that we've made within the few years. And just like you said, although there are some people who may feel like, oh, you didn't get Mother's Day breakfast, so it's not a win. No, the fact that you got a phone call is a win. The fact that you got a card is a win. The fact that they posted you on Facebook is a win. All those little things are steps, and they're not
Right.
small steps, they're huge. So I'm just
Yeah.
happy for you. I'm happy for your family because that is amazing.
Yeah. And it's funny because like I said, I wouldn't have never thought it would happen. Like even after I did the apology, I was waiting for some instant stuff to happen. Like, well, I apologize, so why I can't get acknowledged on Mother's Day? And it wasn't happening at first, is what I'm saying. Like my birthday would come and I wouldn't get a call or whatever. And that's why I said I had to just take my hands off and just let time
Mm-hmm.
do its thing, because eventually those things started happening. It's like, oh, I got a Mother's Day shout out, or hey, I got a call on Mother's Day. Well, one of my stepdaughters did attempt to take me and her mother out for dinner on Mother's Day, but something happened and it didn't work out. But the attempt was there.
Right.
She really wanted to do it, but something else happened, so we didn't get to go. But And she's offered to come over, and she said, I want to come over and plant flowers in your yard. And I was like, well, that's a nice gesture. I
That's
was like, but I'm
progress.
not. I said, I'm not really the garden girl. Like,
Right.
I'm the city girl. Like, the
Mm,
flowers need to come up every year on their own. Like, I don't want to
right.
plant them. I said, but this is a good idea. I said, let's think of something to do. Like, I told her, I said, well, we can go get our pedicures or manicures or something. That'll be fun. She said, yeah, I would like that. So that was an olive branch. At least
Hmm.
she extended something, and then I extended something. And, we're going to set that up.
That's right. Two things you said that were really, I think that were really important in the conversation. So for first, I want to say, I'm sorry that you experienced what you experienced when you were pregnant. That is a lot. That's not
Yeah.
something to gloss over. And that helps me too to understand why, just like you said, as you're talking it out, you're like, you know what? I might have been holding some of that resentment as to why things struggled at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I
I
like that
definitely
you
believe that.
acknowledge that now. Like you're able to see it as you're speaking about it. Like, I could have been
Mm-hmm.
feeling that.
And the viciousness that a mother has when it comes to protecting their children. Like, I was in a mode where I just wanted to protect my kids at all
Hmm.
cost, because, and don't get me wrong, it was never the girl's fault, but there was a threat. There was a
Right.
threat, and it was
Mama
just like,
bear.
yeah, I can't be all these things to everybody. Let me just focus in on what I know I can focus in and control. And that's what I did.
Right.
I would love to say when they were younger, they were over every weekend and we had holidays and we did this. It was not a lot of that going on back when my kids were younger and everything was newer. But we have opportunity now, which I'm
Yeah.
happy about. They're always welcome to come over for any holiday. They don't always come, but it's open.
Right. Right.
So it's I'm just hopeful that things are better and things are going to be even better as
Yeah,
we go forward.
it will. And the another thing that you said that I love, it touches my heart, was that you said you apologized to her, to the
To
kids,
both of
and
them, yeah.
yeah, to the kids, and like the power of an apology. Like we all know that sometimes people are going to apologize and sometimes they're not. Some people don't feel like there's an apology warranted, right? But you were like, I'm the parent in this situation, and maybe there were things that I did wrong in the
Mhm.
situation. So I'm just going to apologize and like hold myself accountable for my part. So I like
Mhm.
that you said like I didn't have it all together. I didn't know all the things I was supposed to do, but I apologize. But still, I'm apologizing. I love that. I think that that's huge because it helps the other person to, even though it does help us too to heal, but it definitely helps them in that healing process. And I'm sure that, just like you said, it didn't happen right away where you started to see the changes in their behaviors where they started coming around, but it eventually started happening. That apology, I'm sure, did a lot for their hearts.
Yeah, and I'm big on that. I'm big on if I did something, let me make it right, you know? And in this situation, I knew I didn't know everything that I did wrong or wasn't sure if I even really did anything wrong, but something happened.
Right.
Something happened and everything was out of order and their feelings were hurt and my feelings were hurt. So it's like somebody had to take that step. And like you said, by me being a parent, it couldn't have been them. you know I wouldn't have expected them to say it to me you
Right.
know so yeah, just trying to step out there and make a step you know I'm glad
Yeah,
I
that
did it. I'm glad I did it.
yes. I'm
Yeah,
glad too.
it
That's
helped.
huge.
Yeah, a lot of people can't do that. They just can't humble themselves enough to apologize. I used to do that with my kids too. Like, if I had like a real angry outburst or something, I would apologize. And I said, I did not mean, because I would see how they were feeling. I'm big on
Hmm.
feelings. I know I hurt you with what I said, and I apologize. Like, I was overwhelmed. I was stressed, you
Right.
know. forgive me for that.
That's right.
I've done that a
Parents,
lot.
listen, you are not too grown to apologize. Humble yourselves and apologize to these kids when you know you did them wrong. Or
Hmm.
sometimes, just like you said, you may not know that, like may not have consciously did something to wrong them, but you're like, wait, I see that there was a shift in their feelings. So let me go
Right.
try to see what that's about.
Right. Something
Kudos.
happened, so let me make it, at least try to make it right on my end, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So, and it's times where they would say, I would be overthinking, and I'd be like, apologize. They'd be like, Ma, what are you talking about? Like, I don't even know what happened. You're good. We're good. And I'm like, okay, just checking because
Right.
I don't want nothing on my conscience,
I know that's right. Just checking in. How are
Right.
the kids overall? Like the littles and I call them the littles and the bigs. What's their relationship like? Or is it growing?
Um, they actually, all four of them have a good relationship. They have a group chat. I'm not in that chat. I guess it's the siblings chat, and they keep updated with everybody. And that's kind of how I get the tea sometimes because I don't always know what's going on behind the scenes. My daughter will say, "Oh, did you know such and such happened, or did you know such and such?" I'm like, "No, I didn't." "Oh, okay, so it was in the group chat. So I think they have a good relationship. Like I say, right now I think it's distance that everybody's not as connected. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, I think my son and daughter are probably closest because they were raised together and they grew up
Right.
together. But they do have, and my second stepdaughter has a little girl. So that's another thing. Me stepping into the role of like grandma's hard for me to say. Like,
I
like
know, right?
I just so I'm Gam. She calls me Gam. She'll be 6. She calls me Gam. And so we have a lot of interaction with her. And so I'm just like, I'm just not old enough to be a grandma. Like, I just cannot wrap my head around it. So, but
Right?
I'm Gam. Call me Gam.
That's good. So your
Yeah.
relationship with the little one is really good. It's
It,
growing
it's growing. It's growing. Like I said,
because of distance also.
yeah, I don't see her as much as we used to at first because at one time my stepdaughter lived with us. So for about a year, her and the baby lived with us. So early when she was first born, maybe like 1.5, 2, we got to really be a part of her life. And then last year, or maybe a couple of years ago, we were getting her like every other weekend and she was coming over and spending time. But then my husband got a part-time job, and then I'm working my job and another part-time job. So the weekends we just didn't have that time to see her like we used to. But we definitely get on and we FaceTime and we chat and things like that.
That happens in families too. Like sometimes parents don't get to have that relationship with the children that they wanted to have. But when grandkids come around, it's like this whole new opportunity to like do it over with the
Right.
kid.
Right.
And so usually grandparents show out when with the grandkid, like
Right. Well, my husband is like that. He's Gramps, and he's like the one that let the kid eat all the candy and do whatever she
hmm
wants. And I'm a little bit more strict, like more disciplined, like. But a part of me is when you said it's like a do over. A part of
hmm
me in my head, the reason why I can't click over because it's like I just did this. Like I just got done raising kids. Like my kids literally just graduated. It's like
and just left this house.
right. It's like, so now you mean I got to do something all over again concerning kids? But that's how it works. You know what I'm saying?
That
I
is,
wonder, was I ever that mom type? Like, was I ever the mom type? I guess I was, but
you
I did
had to have
okay.
been.
I did okay, yeah.
I'm sure you did just fine. I'm sure if you ask your two kids and listen, well, I've seen them. So I've seen your little ones grow up to be grown adults making amazing decisions, doing amazing things. So I'm sure you
Right.
guys did just fine.
And I tell my husband, I say, I think we did pretty good. through it all, my son got married in September, so
Mm-hmm.
um, that was been a big milestone too. So
Right.
yeah, so a lot of good things are happening for our family, and with us crossing over this 25-year milestone, I'm just looking forward to so much more to come.
Yeah. What a blessing. What's one thing you want to leave the listeners with, like one tip?
So I would say, depending on where you are in your journey, sometimes you just have to give it time, because we can try to fix it and force it and make it look like how we want it to look. But sometimes that time just has to happen. And time can be a healing thing, because that's what happened with us. Could we have been here 10 or 15 years ago? Probably not. But
Right.
I tell, our situation worked out how it worked out. And I feel like sometimes you just have to give it time. You
Yeah.
really just have to give it time, because we would love to fix it and force it and make it look perfect. But sometimes it's just going to be ugly. It's not going to be pretty. And we just got to say, okay, I might have to take my hands off, but we'll give it a little time and see how it goes. It's kind of what happened with us. So,
Yeah. That's right. Everybody learn that it takes patience. That's
yes,
always like for
patience. Yep.
patience for my
Mm-hmm.
the blend framework. I always say the last step is don't rush the process. It is
Mm-hmm.
exactly what you explained, not rushing, knowing that it takes time, knowing that it's going to take patience, knowing that everybody's situation's not going to look the same, knowing that it ain't going to look perfect. And even though maybe today it looks perfect, but
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow somebody could say something slick and then it's not so perfect anymore.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. And it's funny, when I start talking to you, I learned about bonus mom. That
mm-hmm,
phrase, bonus mom, because stepdaughter, stepmother, the title itself never bothered me, but I found out it bothers some people
mm-hmm,
to be referred, some kids to be referred to as stepdaughter or stepson. And my girls they didn't like being called stepdaughters. And I said, oh. And then when I heard you talk about bonus mom, I said, let me start referring to them as bonus daughters instead of stepdaughter. It never bothered me. Like, I'm okay with stepmother. I just look at it like a person is an aunt, an uncle, a
right.
cousin. But to them, it really mattered to them.
Yeah.
So I had to change even the way I looked at the title, you know. So
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's worked out a little better to use that term.
Yeah. I'm sure that it's like when we hear stepmom, it's like that negative connotation of like the evil, just like you said, the evil stepmom who has you mopping the floors and doing all the things that they don't want their own children to do. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what it's supposed to look like. But over time, like there are people who are like, I'm not that type of stepmom. I don't want to, matter of fact, I don't even want to be connected with that name, stepmom,
Mm-hmm.
just like you said. Some people are okay with it, but most people would rather bonus mom or bonus
Mm-hmm.
daughters, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
I learned it when I started this journey and this community, that there are some people who are like, I'm sitting saying to everybody, blended family, blended family. There are some people that's like, no, I'm not blended. I'm just co-parenting. Like
Mm-hmm.
we just do this parenting thing. That's it. We are not
Right.
blended. And
Right.
I don't know
Yeah.
that we will be blended in the foreseeable future, but
Right.
let's just, yeah. So
That's
I
where they
learned
are.
that
Yeah.
along the way.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's where some people are. Maybe
Yeah.
that's how we were in the beginning too. Just kind of not blended, just trying to co-parent.
Right.
However that looked like. But I could say now we are blended.
That's
We are
beautiful.
blended.
That's a
Yeah.
beautiful note to end it on. Thank you, Tiffany, for being here. Thank you for being a guest.
Thank you for having me.
Of
I'm always down
course.
with the blended black family and the
Thank you.
cocoa blend and the
I know
cocoa
that's right.
blend.
Tell the people where they can find you on social media. If you have anything going on, you can let them know.
Yes, well, I am a life coach. I'm a wellness coach, and you can find me on Facebook at Dynamite Life Coaching LLC. So I have a Facebook page there, and then I'm also on Instagram. I'm on Twitter or X under my
Right.
name, Tiffany Stevens. You can just look me up under Tiffany Stevens. And I also have a podcast called the
Yeah.
Dynamite Life Podcast, which I am slowly doing a slow relaunch. But the podcast has been in effect since 2019, and we deal with lifestyle and wellness. And so we're excited about coming back and putting our podcast out there. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing right now.
Yay. Listen, everyone, don't worry if you did not catch it all. They will be in the show notes. I want to thank Tiffany again for being here. But before we leave out, I'm going to do a quick little prayer to cover you and
Yes.
your family. Father
Yes.
God, thank you so much for allowing my sister Tiffany to be a part of my podcast. Thank you for just the story that she just shared. I'm sure that her story is going to bless and touch and help a lot of other people who have been experiencing the same things or similar things. I know that when I hear her story, I can look at things from a different perspective because I'm a bio mom. So hearing things from a bonus mom's perspective always is amazing to hear other perspectives and other insight. I think it's a learning lesson, a learning experience for everybody going through this journey. I hope they listened, opened their ears and listened well, took whatever notes they needed to take and understand that patience and time is what you need, especially when you're dealing with these blended families. I ask that you cover, protect, guide, continue to guide Tiffany's family. I ask that you give them all the blessings that they need to continue this journey and that they continue to go stronger and closer with you and in their families. I ask all these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
And
Thank you,
Tiffany, you know this
Jay.
prayer thing is not what I like to do, but God is shaking me out of my comfort zone.
Girl, come on out because you doing it. You called to do it. You are
I was
called
like,
for
Lord,
this.
I don't want to be praying, but you know, here we are. Here we are.
That's
But
okay. I
thank you.
felt it. It felt good. I felt it.
Thank you. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely out of my comfort zone, but I'm just trying to be obedient.
Yep. That's
That's
all
it.
you can do. That's it.
So that my blessings can flow. Cause I feel like I be trying to not be obedient and God's like, now look at you. See you sitting over there with nothing. You should
Right.
have done what I told you.
Right. Should have did it. Should have
You
been
should have done what I
obedient.
told you to do. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
thank you so much again, Tiffany, for being a part of this podcast. Guys, I hope, like I said, all of her information will be in the show notes. God bless you, and I'll see you next time.